Okay, here we go. Sound check. Let me turn this off. I got feedback coming. Hey, Sleuthy. This one is going to be interesting, and I think you might want to stick around. Yeah, I fixed it. I had the TV, I had the sound on the computer system at the same time. I always forget to mute this doggone mic. I mean the monitor. So, the Southern Baptist Convention released a list with over 700 known sexual predators who are or were active in ministry. Some of them as recent as right now. The scope, these people have been active in ministry. Most of the most of the places that you see listed are going to be in the South because it is the Southern Baptist school, the Southern Baptist Convention. So you'll see a lot of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, but this reaches as far as the UK and Canada. You'll see listings for New York, California, Wisconsin. Some of these offenders have offended in multiple locations. Now, we hear a lot about this issue going on in the Catholic Church with priests and how priests are shuffled from one parish to the next after they offend. Well, it's not just a Catholic issue. Um, the only mainstream religions that I can think of that I really haven't heard a lot of chatter about this being an issue is in the Muslim religious community and the Jewish religious community. I have heard a story here or there in the Jewish community, but for the most part, this is like a Christian-based religious problem. This problem exists in a lot of the. It is disgusting. Um, let's see. Slew says that's disgusting. I was gonna say this is the churches within the convention, which does not include independent Baptists, just as a side note. All right, thank you for that information, because I didn't know that. I honestly just assumed that all Baptists fall under their convention. But yeah, I mean, it is disgusting. And I'm going to tell you, there is one pastor on here that is from my hometown that I know personally. And it's been a conversation for a very long time. How is this man still a pastor? How does he still have a church? Does his wife still, stick up for him? Because this has been an issue from he's older than me, so he's probably in his 50s now. He only recently, in the last, I want to say 10 years, got out of prison for offending against a child. He has another charge for offending a child against a child before that, and his very first charge was when he was 17 years old. That he actually raped a 17-year-old, an 11-year-old boy. So this is not like it's not like people don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so, since in a lot of these cases, since I know for a fact that in that specific case, because it's from my hometown, I know this person, I personally, I've met them, spoken with them. I've even been to their church before I found out about all this other stuff. But, and I'm not going to get into that because I could say a whole lot about that. Um, about my experience at their church. I'm not going to get into that because it's really kind of off on a tangent. But what I'm going to say is when a community is so fully aware of what's going on, it should not continue to be a problem. I mean, like I personally, in his instance, I can't understand how he can possibly have such continued support with the whole community, knowing his history, knowing his habits, and we know that he's going to do it again. And there are the ones who are vocal and who stand back and won't attend that church. They won't put money into that church. They won't support community efforts from that church. But then you have so many who do. And those who do, they're aware of the same things as those who don't. And so I feel like if that's the situation in that one particular case that I'm personally familiar with, then that's probably the same situation that's going on with a lot of these other cases that I don't really know anything about other than what we see in the news. And I also kind of feel like it's a situation where, just as in the Catholic Church, when a priest offends or gets in some type of hot water, then they shuffle them to another parish. And you'll see in this list that some of these people have offended in multiple states. They've ministered in multiple different churches, and so it makes me think that we have a similar situation where, okay, you messed up at this church, so we're going to shuffle you over to another church. We're going to pawn you off on this other church over there. Hey, Jay Meister. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. Hey, Sherry, I'm going to get off my soapbox because I could talk so much about this, and we're going to just delve into this list a little bit. I am not going to go through, obviously, over 700 names on a live, but I will post a link. When I can figure out how to share this, I'll post a link directly to it, but I will edit the description so that you can, there's a place where you can download it for yourself or view it online, and I'll post that link. Well, shoot, I'll just do that. It's sharing. It's a news article, but it's in the news article. Okay, let's get this off the screen. I want to scroll down and go ahead and go to the one that I was talking about. And this is actually, I'm not sure why. For some reason, it looks like I don't have the whole list unless it was condensed, because this list is actually 200 and something pages long. And you can see it's showing like 76 pages here. So I'm not sure if that's because I switched it over to a Word document, so it kind of rearranged it kind of rearranged the pagination, or if it cut off some of the pages. But in the link that I'll share, it'll have the full PDF file. It really is. And it's crazy because they just keep offending. Okay, come on, thing. Oh, that's what it is. My computer's moving slow. Castron and Justice, welcome to the chat. And yes, it's true. It's very true. As a matter of fact, while I'm waiting for that to load, I'm going to go and read the article from my hometown so I can share that with you. Pull that up. UER3. can't remember the exact. Because this obviously is not loading correctly for me today, so we'll just go to the article. Okay, Pensacola pastor included in Southern Baptist Convention's sexual abuser list. Okay, this guy here, this very first one, is the person that I was speaking about. His name is Leon Rankins III, also known as Bishop Leon Rankins III. Says a newly released, previously secret list. Let me say that again. Previously secret list of abusers compiled by the Southern Baptist Convention, or the SBC, contains the cases of 4 men from Northwest Florida. Southern Baptist Convention released the list Thursday night after Independent Task Force guideposts found the church stonewalled and denigrated survivors of clergy sex abuse over almost 2 decades while seeking to protect their own reputations. That is horrible. They stonewalled and denigrated survivors of clergy sex abuse over almost 2 decades, almost 20 years, while seeking to protect their own reputations. The list includes a Pensacola pastor, a Baker pastor, a Niceville associate pastor, and a Niceville youth church volunteer. Here is each of their cases according to the Southern Baptist Convention. Leon Rankins III, 35, pastor, I sure thought he was older than that, pastor at Restoration Full Gospel Baptist Church on Cervantes Street in Pensacola, charged in 1989 when he was 17, accused of sexually abusing an 11-year-old boy. Pleaded no contest in 1994 to 2 counts of sexual battery, sentenced to 2 years of house arrest and 2 years of probation. Charged in 2007 with having sex with a 13-year-old boy, sentenced to 5 years in prison and 10 years probation. Listed on sexual offender registry. And what is terrifying is that he has 2 sons of his own. Dan Allen Julio, 57, former associate pastor of Rocky Bayou Baptist Church in Niceville, 1998 to 2009. Arrested in 2017 for sexual battery of a 6-year-old. Convicted in June 2018 of sexual battery, sentenced to prison, listed on the sexual offender registry. Oh boy. Robert Thomas Jenkins Hayes, 42, church youth volunteer and volunteer with the Awana program for the youth at Rocky Bayou Baptist Church in Niceville. Arrested in 2005 after a 15-year-old boy reported allegations. Pastor reported he was aware of instances where he, quote, kissed boys on the lips and embraced them for too long, unquote. So the pastor was aware of some shady interactions that this volunteer was having with young boys. Convicted in 2006 of lewd or lascivious conduct with a victim under 16, sentenced in 2006 to 15 years probation, listed on the sexual offender registry. Makes me wonder if pastor might be on this list too. Jerry Hutchison, pastor at Red Oak Baptist Church in Baker. Sexually abused 86-year-old woman. 86-year-old woman. Somebody's great grandma. probably somebody's great great grandma. Convicted of first degree sexual abuse in Alabama and served 4 years in prison. Registered sex offender in Alabama. Previously registered in Tennessee on 2004 sexual abuse offense. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Copy this link address. Pensacola law firm Levin Papantonio Rafferty announced earlier this week it will represent victims of sexual abuse in the Southern Baptist Convention. There is no imaginable way to condone SBC leaders' handling of these crimes. Attorney Mike Papantonio says children who trusted their ministers to be good, godly people and who trusted their churches as protectors of righteousness were abused, demonized, abandoned, and left to live with lifelong physical and emotional injuries. All the while, SBC leaders did nothing to help and nothing to prevent future abuses from occurring. That's about to change. I'm going to say this, the Levin Papantonio law firm is an awesome law firm. If they're on the case, you could almost guarantee they're going to win and they're going to get some big results. That law firm was the lead in the big tobacco lawsuit when they sued big tobacco and got all this money for people who suffered all these like cancer and eczema and all this other stuff because the tobacco company didn't really make it known the negative effects of smoking. That law firm is responsible for the campaigns where big tobacco has to where you guys remember when they were posting like those pictures of cancer survivors and the commercials like the one they have now with the person that's talking with the throat box, the voice box. And for a while, some years ago, they used to post the really graphic pictures of what cancer does to the body. The commercials that we see now, like the kid that goes in the store to buy a pack of cigarettes and they got to like give up their teeth and all this stuff. This law firm is responsible for the changes that forced big tobacco to not only shell out billions of dollars, but to make such changes and to really say, hey, look, we sell a bad product. It will kill you. It will jack you up. And this is what it'll do to you. So this is an awesome law firm. And I think when he says that's about to change, he meant it. Fred Levin, rest his soul. And I could say some other things about him. We've kind of heard about Fred Levin on when we spoke to Jimmy Staley. If you missed that, I'll put the link to that in here too. She spoke about Fred Levin, but from a legal standpoint, Fred Levin was a beast. Roland Slade, SBC Executive Committee Chairman, and Willie McLaurin, interim president / CEO of the SBC Executive Committee, released this joint statement. The recently released Guidepost report revealed a list of alleged abusers compiled by a former employee of the SBC Executive Committee. This list is being made public for the first time as an initial but important step towards addressing the scourge of sexual abuse and implementing reform in the convention. Each entry in this list reminds us of the devastation and destruction brought about by sexual abuse. Our prayer is that the survivors of these heinous acts find hope and healing, and that churches will utilize this list proactively to protect and care for the most vulnerable among us. Our God invites us to do justice, love, mercy, and walk humbly with God. Micah 6:8. As a network of Great Commission churches, we are commissioned to live out the Great Commandment and to fulfill the Great Commission. It is our hope that releasing this list places a spotlight on truth and transparency. Southern Baptists have made it clear that transparency in the area of sexual abuse should be the norm. We are releasing the list in the exact form that it was provided to Guidepost Solutions by an executive committee staff member. We have not made any additions to the list nor any alterations other than converting it from Microsoft Word to portable document format, PDF format, and redacting information as detailed below. In making redaction decisions, counsel to the executive committee included in their entries in their entirety entries that reference an admission, confession, guilty plea, conviction, judgment, sentencing, or inclusion on a sex offender registry. The only exceptions to these entries is the redaction of names or identifying information of survivors and or other individuals unrelated to the offender. Many of the entries list either an arrest or charges, but no disposition. Since May 24, 2022, Counsel to Executive Committee has done preliminary research and where guilty pleas, convictions, judgments, sentence, and or inclusion on a sexual offender registry could be easily verified, the entry was left unredacted. Other entries are preliminarily researched, did not indicate a disposition that fits within the described parameters have been redacted. Entire entries that do not relate to sexual abuse or that resulted in an acquittal are also redacted. That's important information because you're going to see a lot of redaction on this document when you look at it. So that explains why you see that. We note that there will be more exhaustive research and analysis of the redacted entries, and we anticipate that some of the redacted entries will be fully released in the future. We felt it was more important to release the list and redact rather than delay and investigate. If you are or have been a victim of sexual abuse or suspect sexual abuse by a pastor, staff member, or member of a Southern Baptist church or an entity, please reach out for help at 202-864-5578 or SBC hotline at guidepostsolutions.com. All calls are confidential. I think it is really important. I'm going to end this here real soon. I think it is really important that when we hear about or we suspect that children or even adults are being abused or being harmed, that it shouldn't matter what the position is of the person who is abusing or harming. It shouldn't matter if they are a pastor, a bum on the street, or the president of the United States. Once people become aware of what's going on, everyone who is aware should be fully vocal and 100% active in doing everything possible to bring that abuse to an end. Without respect to position, title, power, money, any of that. So, as you can see, and I'm just going to kind of, because I'm going to link it for you to look at your own leisure, I'm just going to kind of scroll through here and point out a few things. Here is, okay, we're seeing Alabama, Tennessee. This person offended in at least 3 states: Texas, South Carolina, and Arkansas. Or is that Arizona? That's Arkansas. This one in the UK. Ohio, Florida, California, Texas, Alabama, and Arkansas. So this is widespread. These people aren't limited to this list. It's not limited to a few hick towns in somewhere in the deep south. Missouri, Nebraska, Tennessee, California, Alabama, Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, Kentucky, and Colorado, South Carolina, and Virginia. And this is not a one-time, one-off for these guys. Missouri, California. Scroll on down some more. I know I saw Canada on one of these when I was looking earlier. West Virginia and Kentucky. But yeah, I saw Canada on it. I did not go through this entire list. Um I went through enough of it to, and here we even have a female offender. The outcome: registered as a sex offender for the sexual assault of a teenage male student, given 10 years community supervision in 2002. Houston Chronicle has her in their database. I do not know what association she has with the Southern Baptists. I have not found an article yet. Search Tanya Stovall Zamora, Tanya Fisher Zamora. And it's not limited to men either. But of course, we know that from the stuff that goes on in the schools. Hey, PJ, from the stuff that goes on in the schools. I mean, how many female teachers do we see offending against children? And also, you'll find in this list that there are articles. Person, this Daryl Gilliard, who offended in Florida, Texas, and Oklahoma, who was the pastor at these three churches and an assistant pastor at this church. Wow. Concord Missionary Baptist Church in Oak Cliff, Texas. I lived in Oak Cliff for a long time. Excuse me. Registered sex offender in Florida. Lewd and lascivious molestation of two teenage girls, one between 12 and 15, another under 16. Went back to work in another church in 2012 after serving a 3-year prison term. Worked at a large church in Dallas County in the 1990s, but left the state for Florida after being publicly accused of molesting young congregants. And so they also list like articles that you can go and check out to find out what's going on with these cases or what happened. And you see there's some that have video links. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I really just wanted to put this out here, especially since it's weird how things happen, because I got this list a couple of days ago and I was like, does this kind of fit? Is it something that I really need to present? Should I just put up a link for it or do a video? Well, I watch Law and Order SVU a lot, and there was an episode that I watched yesterday. The basics of it was a priest who would rape women in the congregation after certain types of confessions, after they made certain types of confessions. Then he would go and confess to this other priest, knowing that this other priest was bound by the rules of the confessional and couldn't tell on it. Well, he was getting shuffled from parish to parish, and this other priest, I guess, would get shuffled along with him to take his confessions. Well, the other priest decided he was going to try to stop him. Ends up getting caught. They think it's him, blah, blah, blah. He's bound by the rules. He can't tell them, no, it's not me, it's him. But he gives them enough information to figure it out. And this guy had been doing it for a long time. Realize this is just TV, but it's the thought, it's the sentiment. The people were shocked, surprised, and disbelieving that it was a priest who was doing this. One of the victims said It couldn't be him. He's a priest. Someone on the law enforcement side said, I've known him since grade school. It can't be him. The mere thought of a priest, a pastor, a rabbi, an imam doing something so indescribably wrong and horrid is so offensive to so many people. And maybe that's part of the reason that people are slow to want to speak out against against clergy when they do things like this, or when people become aware of them doing things like this. And maybe we need to just reform the way that we view clergy, because I know that we all want to have that one safe place. And for many of us, church or our place of worship is that place. But the reality is, the same way that we feel that that is our safe place and we can be at peace and we can kind of let our guard down there, the predators know that we think that way. And so it becomes their hunting ground. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for joining, and I will see you next time.